Hi, this is Vanessa with Fitness 23, and guess what we're doing today? We're going to show you how to tape your feet properly for Haglunds deformity or an Achilles issue. So sit back and get really comfortable and let's go for it.
Three, two, 1, 0.
So 30% of human beings have something called Haglunds Deformity, which is a bump on the back of your heel. You may have noticed that your shoes wear out strangely in the back, or you've got heel pain, or your Achilles hurts, anything like that. So sometimes runners really notice it as we put so much more pounding on our feet. And my most famous videos really are my videos on Haglunds Deformity and how I take care of it as a runner. I'm a marathoner. I run about 50 miles a week, plus being a personal trainer with a couple of gyms, so I'm on my feet all day too. And I do this every day. So I'm gonna do a real close-up for you of how I do the tape, why I do it, and what kind of shoes I wear and that kind of thing, as you've seen in my other videos. Now, I prefer KT tape. KT tape does not pay me a penny to do this. So I've used other tapes. I don't find that they stick as well in sweat or other things like that. When you see KT tape, you will see that it is rounded on the ends. You do not need a full piece for your feet. I actually cut them in half with scissors and then round off the ends so there's nothing jagged for it to pull on. Super important. Both of my feet are very different and I tape different, so now we're gonna tape both feet. So this was one piece of tape that I cut in about a 60-40 ratio. On my right foot, my Haglunds deformity is the bump right directly in the back of my heel, which is really common with most Haglunds deformities. My left is much more complicated. Let's do the right first. With the piece of KT tape, we're gonna tear it in half, and do not touch with your fingers the actual tape part. Take this apart, stretch it about 70–80%, and the bottom part, which they call it an anchor, is not stretched. And I want to be up and around this side. My deformity is right here, and that's an area that I want a double piece of tape. So this is where the shorter piece of tape goes. And so I tear this open. I'm going to stretch it 70–80% and come across in the back. Really make sure you rub this down really well. So a little bit of heat makes the adhesive stick. And this way, this will stick the entire time when you are running or when you even take a shower. It'll go through a shower depending on how much cream rinse I use on my hair. But that makes a really tight situation. See, when I did my foot too, my foot was flexed, right? You want your foot flexed, not down when you tape your foot. Okay, let's do the left one. My left foot is really my problem foot. My Haglunds deformity is on the side. So this always created a really weird rub mark. Obviously I pull this foot a little to the side when I run, but this could really cause serious pain and it could tear that Achilles right across, because the Achilles comes right in the back, right? So this comes right on the edge. It can be super painful. I always tape this foot all the time. So with this one, I do a much different tape job. So I've done the same thing, one piece of tape, done about a 60–40 ratio on the cut, and it comes across that area. And I can really feel the bone sticking out there and down around my heel to the other side. Really rub that in. And then of course, you know, this is all about protecting my Achilles also with Haglunds deformity. So I need to run this up the Achilles in the back to give as much support. Remember, the foot is flexed. And rub that in to make sure it all stays down flat. And now we're gonna do that double. So we're gonna come across here. So it comes right across that bump. So I've really got a couple of layers over that bony bump. And because I wanna protect this Achilles especially, because this one would get strained from the Haglunds deformity, I do another piece higher up on the Achilles, which is right, you know, where the ankle narrows tends to be a big stress fracture with the Achilles. So I make sure that I've got that tape really down tight and it's covered the bony area. Now, that's my taping, but I still have to get ready to run. So after my feet are taped, the next important step is a compression sock. The most important thing to do with Haglunds is to make sure you never get any inflammation in your feet, because the inflammation is what actually hurts. I use Zensa, is my favorite sock, but I have used CEP also. so it's kind of a preference. This has a little less compression, a little softer. I find it very comfortable to wear all day long. When you're gonna put on your socks, of course, you wanna make sure that you don't screw up the tape. So it's really difficult if you have Haglunds to wear tall socks. I do for marathons, just to be just really careful when you're putting the sock on that you're not disturbing the tape and being real up over this, the foot, so you keep the tape laying real nice and low, and do that on both feet, right? And that everything's real smooth. And if you've screwed it up, honestly, redo the tape. Don't think, oh, it's no big deal. You don't want to bump in your tape, because then the tape will come off when you're running if it rubs, right? So the whole thing with Haglunds is to avoid the rub on your feet and on the bony structure of your feet. So after you've got your sock on, I really am a big proponent of always having custom insoles. The insoles that come with your shoes that you bought are just little flimsy things, and you need some arch support, especially for Haglunds, to have that foot stay nice and secure and not rub against the shoe. I use custom insoles from Roadrunners. There are other ones you can get. Really try to see what fits you and what you really like. And then I want to talk about the shoes a little bit. So make sure that there's nothing to rub on the inside of the shoe. I'm a Nike person. Nikes fit me really well, and I love what they do for my running. But make sure the most important part of Haglunds is that any shoe you choose does not have a big ridge in the back, because that's what's going to rub on you. And realize it's going to be some trial and error. Things like ASICs do not work. Adidas works beautifully. Nike works. Salomon works really well. New Balance is okay. It just kind of depends on how it fits. They do have one that does come off, but it's a lot of trial and error, and as you know, shoes change a lot. But do not have a big bump ridge back here. Brooks has a big bumpy ridge. Never works. Never works. ASICs and Brooks are the two that I always say is a big no-no if you have Haglunds deformity. So make sure you've got a shoe with no bump. Make sure you've got an insole in there. You've got your compression socks on. You've got your tape down nice and flat. And guess what? We're ready to go for a run. Thank you for joining me at Fitness 23. Feel free to send me an email or shoot me a text message if you have any questions or concerns or any kind of exercises you would like to see. Remember, I have a gym in San Jose, California at Train with V. I also have Fitness 23 Las Vegas. And of course, don't forget, I have a nonprofit, Exercise in the Streets, which gives running shoes to incarcerated youth. Have a great day.